Hey everybody, welcome back. Today, I want to talk to you guys about what I consider to be the Mercedes-Benz, the BMW, the Audi, whatever German car manufacturer you choose, but the Mercedes-Benz of Forstner bits. The Forstner bits that I'm talking about are the FAMAG Forstner bits, the Borax 2.0. I have had this set in my shop for about 2 years now. So the purpose of this video is to share with you what makes these Forstner bits different from other Forstner bits on the market and why I like them so much. But before we get into that, let's quickly just talk about Forstner bits, right? Forstner bits, I feel, are just like router bits. I feel like they're just like drill bits, spade bits. There's all kinds of different bits when you go to a hardware store or woodworking store or one of the home stores. And it's just like, what's good? What do I need? And in a lot of cases, you can probably get by, depending on what you do, with just buying individual bits, right? I need a 2-inch bit, or I need a 35mm bit for this project. Maybe it's a smart decision for you to just purchase that. And on the other side of that, you have very inexpensive, affordable options out there. This is just a Rockler Forstner bit set, everything from 1/4 of an inch all the way up to an inch. I bought these years ago. Used them. They work pretty well. They don't cut the same way now as they used to, because they have been used quite a bit. And then before I'd mentioned, 35mm, maybe I need something, a specialty bit. This is a specialty Forstner bit specific for cutting the hinge hole locations for European style hinges. The more I progressed in woodworking and realized that I do have a need for Forstner bits in my shop on a pretty regular basis, I then started looking for, better options that are out there. This is a Festool set. These are not available in the United States, but I was able to get my hands on one due to a friend. And that's when the FAMAG bits stepped in. When I first used these, I immediately noticed a difference, and I'm going to show you guys in this video. So now I'm going to bring you in close pretty much for the rest of the video so I can show you some of the key differences between the FAMAG Borax bits and other traditional bits that you're going to find. All right, so let's start off with, this is just one of those inexpensive Rockler bits. And so one thing that you'll notice with all the bits that I'm going to show you in this first part is that every single one of these has a round shank. And we'll talk about why that kind of becomes a pain in the butt here shortly. The next thing I want to point out on these is you'll see that this is a solid surface on the outside. And in this instance, there's a lead cutting edge and one right here. So what that's going to do is that's going to help score the wood fibers prior to you actually making the cut. So that can assist with making the cut nice and clean. But pretty bare bones on the outside. And then here on the top, what you have is a knife's edge here and a knife's edge here. And those are designed to make the cut and eject the chips up through here and out. So you have 2 locations for chip ejection on a standard Forstner bit, being those. And then obviously you have your point here to help get it started. So looking at something like this, which is slightly similar but a little bit different, and that is that it has a more prominent cutting edge here. And again, that's to help score the wood fibers prior to the cut. This, you see a much larger opening for chip ejection. You'll see all of these little notches right here. Now, what I would like to point out is that those notches are not meant to be there. That's from me using it over time. And my belief is that one of the reasons for this is because after, heavy use and the fact that this is not, very good quality steel, it's soft, so it has started to chip away along the cutting edge. I cannot use this the way that I used to. And so now we'll get into a larger example. And one of the key differences with this Forstner bit is that you see a lot more of these points for scoring those wood fibers out on the outside, which is a nice benefit. But don't let that fool you with this bit. This was a very inexpensive bit that we ordered off Amazon. I do not know the brand name. One long cutter here, one long cutter here. Your opening for chip ejection. And you can actually see how it's slightly burned up inside of there. These got very hot very quickly and became very ineffective very quickly. And that same thing goes with this. You start to see the discoloration of the metal. These bits would just get very hot. They just do not perform well anymore. So now let's talk about the FAMAG bits. and what makes these different. And I'm sure by looking at it, you can immediately tell that there are some pretty significant differences here. So let's start with the shank first. So these bits come with a hex shank. My favorite bits always have a hex shank. And the reason for that is because if you're using one of these, I'm sure anybody can attest to it, and you start to drill something out and it starts to slip. Well, you don't have that problem when you have bits that have this hex shank. So that is the first big plus on why I like these a lot. So now let's talk about the actual bits. Okay, so there's a couple of cool things going on here. So the first thing is you'll notice that this has a lot more of those pointed cutters that are going to help score the wood fibers as you're drilling down into the material, which is going to result in a much cleaner cut. You've got your traditional point right here, just like any other bit, and they actually do have sets where this point is adjustable. So this point can actually be moved in and out to help you. This set of bits does not have that, but that point's only so good for vertical, right? If I wanted to drill at an angle like this, having an extended point is what's going to actually get me to start that cut, right? So they do have, you know, Forstner bits that have these points that are actually movable. So that's another cool feature. Now with this, you have this large chip ejection area, just like you saw on those other large bits. And even if we were to take one of the smaller bits, you'd see that it's a pretty substantial size for such a small bit. But the coolest thing is that you have these vertical channels and these lines, these slots or grooves that run parallel to the bit. Now, a really big benefit to this is that not only are you going to get better chip ejection, and you're going to get, you know, clogging a lot less often, but notice how this bit, a traditional Forstner bit, is just one solid wall of metal as opposed to a lot less metal making contact with the wood. Well, this is also going to help dissipate the heat, and the heat buildup that you get on these is going to be far less than what you get on these bits. Now, why is that important? Because if you don't get significant heat buildup, the cutter head is going to last longer and is going to stay sharper longer. Now, the next feature that is so different about these bits is you'll see these little grooves here. There's a little groove here, there's a groove here, and there's a groove there. You should be able to see that on the video. So it's ridged. This is not a perfectly straight line. So you have it on this side, and you also have the same thing on this side. The only difference is that those ridges are actually offset from the other. If you would look at one like this, you'll notice it's just flat all the way across. So the thing that makes those huge chips on a drill press and makes the drill press or using a Forstner bit so messy is the fact that this whole piece here is taking a cut. Well, what these FAMAG bits do is these are chip breakers. They don't take one solid cut all the way across. What they're doing is they're taking that one large piece and turning it into multiple small pieces. And that has been the biggest difference that I've seen between these bits versus traditional bits, is that they produce a very different shaving. And I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. And then finally, the last thing that I do want to highlight is that they do come with this black oxide finish on it, which is obviously going to assist with things like corrosion, rust, stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I think they kind of look cool. So the first thing that I want to show is what I was just referring to about the chip breakers and how one produces much smaller chips and shavings than the other. So the first demonstration I'm going to show you is one of these 2-inch Forstner bits with just the straight edge, and then I'll show you the ribbed offset chip breakers on the FAMAG bits, and you'll really get a good idea of what I'm talking about and the difference. So as you can see, it's got these very large shavings, right, that are just rolled up. So I bundled all these into a pile. Now I'm going to quickly change out the bit. All right, so there is the shavings produced by the FAMAG bits. You'll notice that each one of them is a much smaller shaving, and that's because what it's doing is it's basically taking one of these and turning it into multiple shavings. So that is the reason for the staggered and offset chip breakers on the main cutting edge, is because it will give you smaller shavings like this. And again, the way that this is designed is going to help dissipate a lot of that heat, and you're not going to get that heat buildup. Like I can touch this right now, it doesn't have any heat buildup at all. I do want to take an opportunity to thank the sponsor of today's video, KJP Select Hardwoods. KJP offers an extensive line of wood products and woodworking supplies. They also have over 60 types of hobby wood ready to ship in 2-foot to 4-foot lengths for your next project. They also stock a large quantity of Baltic birch and other plywood for CNC and lasers. Their website is very easy to use, and they do ship worldwide. And as part of this video, if you use the code BENT at checkout, KJP will give you a 10% discount on any FAMAG bits that you may buy from them. That is not an affiliate code, that is simply a 10% discount for you. So if you're interested in purchasing a set or a specific FAMAG bit after watching this video, go over to their website, type in the code, save yourself 10%. So definitely one of the more common questions that I've been asked over the last year or two whenever I use these bits and people see them is, how do they cut in other material? So what I've got is I'm just going to do some quick cuts with, I believe, a 7/8 inch FAMAG Borax 2.0 bit. I've got some white oak, I've got some walnut, I've got some Baltic birch. Baltic birch has a much thicker veneer. And then I've got some MDF. So let's just make a few different cuts and I'll show you guys the quality in each. All right, so we've got the white oak, cuts through it, no problem. You can see it's actually like a really, really clean cut. No burning. And I'm spinning that bit really fast as well. And it is just as smooth as can possibly be on the inside of that cut. So that's white oak. White oak obviously has a tendency to burn very easily. So I always like that as a test to see if I'm going to get any burning. And as you can see, it's a great, great cut. Now let's do some walnut. I just wanted to show you guys, I have this spinning at a very high revolution for the size bit that it is, and I can just simply touch it afterwards, and it is not too hot to touch. Now you'll see similar results in the walnut. I find walnut is quite a bit easier to drill. This feels a lot softer and easier to drill than white oak, but as you can see, super smooth, beautiful cut, no burning, and cut through it pretty much effortlessly with just the weight of the drill. All right, now we'll do some Baltic birch. People are probably thinking I'm crazy right now, just wasting a scrap of Baltic birch for this video, but I like to live dangerously. So again, I mean, you're gonna see the same results in every material that we're cutting. It just cuts a really good quality, clean, smooth hole. So let's go ahead and do MDF real quick, and then I want to do another demo. All right, MDF. MDF, I mean, it cuts great. I've had few things that don't, have a hard time cutting MDF nice and clean unless it's just, really dull. But great quality cut on the MDF as well. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go all the way through this wood with no backer material underneath. I do not know what the results are going to be, but what I want to make clear is that people have this misconception with this, is that, oh, I have a Forstner bit, it should be so good and so sharp that it cuts right through and doesn't have any tear out. That's not how that works, especially with a Forstner bit. You can do it on regular drill bits for sure, but Forstner bits is a much larger area. So we're going to do that 7/8. We're going to see what it looks like, and then I'm going to show you the difference when you actually put some sort of backer material underneath it, which will support the cut. So as I expected, there's plenty of tear out on the back side of this because it's not supported. To be honest with you, it's actually less than what I was expecting it to be, but being Baltic birch and having a thicker veneer, that obviously helps. So now let me do one right next to it with a piece of MDF underneath supporting the entire cut, and we'll see the difference. All right, got my material underneath. Let's go ahead and punch this one through. All right, here you can clearly see the difference between the one with nothing behind it and the one with the piece of MDF underneath. to help support the cut all the way through. So no issues with the exit cuts as long as it is supported, which is the case with just about anything. So I wanted to do that quick comparison and really just highlight what the features do, why these are just phenomenal Forstner bits. If you're looking for a Forstner bit that you'll buy and you will not need to buy another one, definitely check out these FAMAG Borax bits. You get what you pay for. These bits are not inexpensive, but no good Forstner bit or no good tool that is truly going to last a long time is going to be what most would consider cheap or inexpensive. You are going to get what you pay for in most cases. And this is a perfect example. Got these off Amazon, cost less than 10 bucks. They lasted one project and they do not cut effectively anymore. The less effective they cut, the more I have to try to manipulate it, which is going to make it dull out even faster. So for me, I just wanted something that I'm going to be able to use for the next however many years and not have to worry about it. I have two different sets of these. I do work in both imperial and metric in my shop. This right here is a 6-piece metric set. This right here is a 16-piece imperial set. You do not have to buy these in sets. You can buy these individually. FAMAG has a whole line of drilling items from Forstner bits to drill bits to jigs to all kinds of different things. So to close this video out, I want to say that if you're looking for a really, really nice set of Forstner bits and you're willing to invest the money in them, whether it's you just buy the 3 that you use all of the time, or you do something like purchase one of these sets, which they offer in both metric and imperial, then I would strongly encourage you to consider these FAMAG bits. You will not be disappointed. They're fantastic Forstner bits, and I even have a set of their Brad Point drill bits, and they have also exceeded my expectations on every level. If there's something that I didn't cover and you have more questions about specific to these bits, please feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. Or if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me over on Instagram at Ben's Woodworking, and I'd be happy to answer those when I can. That's gonna do it for this one. Until next time, everybody, get out in the shop, try something new, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.